interestingly, Reform is the second most popular party amongst young people in the country. It's insane. So I mean, of course,
I've got
Labour is
that
still
here.
by far the that's right. It's still by far the highest, but that's an incredible statistic to see that a party that's only a couple of years old is becoming increasingly popular with young people. Now, of course, the Labour vote there is super strong, and that will always be the case amongst young people. But I think, particularly across Europe, and we saw what happened with Marine Le Pen in France, and how many young people just showed up at her event was incredible. Jordan Bardella? Is it Bardella?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, yeah, he is extremely popular. He's got millions of followers on TikTok. And I think this is going to be a trend that continues into the future. So, while the centrists refuse to do anything and to change their approach, they're only going to encourage the right more, the real right, not this pretend sort of wet left right that we've got with the Tories and other parts of so-called conservative parties across Europe, but the real right will shine through and get more votes.
Yeah, Eunice. I mean, we've seen actually that in this country, as you can see in that poll there, 50% of young people voting for the Labour Party, and the Labour Party, of course, are going to do very well out of this upcoming election. Do you think actually, do you find it somewhat depressing that Europe is moving to the right whilst Britain is moving to the left? And I mean, the Tories are to blame for that, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't actually think UK is moving to the left. The only reason why Labour is winning is because of the consecutive failures of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before on this show, there was a new study done that actually a lot of young people, especially boys, high school boys and college students, they're swinging to the right. And the reason is that there's a scientific reason behind this. Like usually people are more liberal and left leaning when they are young, and people become more and more conservative as they get older. So unfortunately, like I was a left wing guy when I came out of university, and I was a socialist. But as I got older and older, I became more and more capitalistic. And again, this is another pushback against the globalist agenda and against the wokey agenda. I was watching this gentleman called Professor Matt Goodwin, I think
Yeah,
his
yeah,
name
yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and he was saying that the left always tries to paint the other side. Oh, you're crazy, you're racist. No, we're not racist. We just want strong borders, or we don't want the woke stuff shoved down our throats, or we just want common sense policy. And I think the right has now become there is no such thing as left and the right. There is the globalist and the establishment, and there is the common sense parties, and reform
Mm.
is a part of that. And lastly, I just want to say that reform is actually the most engaged party on social media in terms of retention and the likes that
Mm.
they get, because a lot of the people that actually comment on my posts, they like vote reform or join reform. So I actually think some of these posts could be wrong, because how can the reform party be the biggest party on TikTok, the biggest party on TikTok, which is predominantly under 21-year-olds? They are the biggest party on TikTok, and yet this poll says 50% were voting Labour. I just think that the Reform Party will have a lot of votes, but unfortunately, they will end up finishing second in a lot of constituencies. They'll get a
That's
lot
really
big share
interesting.
of
Yeah.
the yeah, they'll get a big share of the popular vote, but then they will not manage to get a lot of MPs in.
Yeah.
But I'll predict they will get between 5 to 10 in the parliament.
Wow.
On that second place, that which they're going to be in a vast amount of seats across the country, they're going to be second place in Labour seats. This is the
Yeah,
incredible
yeah,
statistic.
yeah.
And it shows to people, it really shows, and I hope it teaches the Tories a massive lesson, which they've
Yeah,
betrayed the public. I doubt they'll get the support back again. But those Labour seats, those working class seats, those are the people that naturally like Nigel Farage. They want the working class to be revived, and they know that Labour doesn't really stand up for them. They know that Labour doesn't represent the working class. It
Yeah.
represents the elite. If
Mm.
anything, it's the intelligentsia that Labour represents. They don't have anything working class about them other than the odd MP like Angela Rayner, who comes across as working class. But all this wokeness, working class people are the people of common sense. So they see all this nonsense, like all this woke rubbish, And they go, well, why are you endorsing that? Aren't you meant to be the party of common sense and working people? Because working people don't want this shoved down their throats. So
No.
I think you're right there, Eunice. They will come second place in a lot of red wall seats. And that's what Nigel Farage has been saying too.
And Adam on Facebook says the first past the post system, the electoral system that we have in this country, is designed to keep the two main parties in power. Fair representation is needed. I think there is a real argument, and there will be a real cry for electoral reform after this election. If reform only get perhaps a couple of seats, but they get millions of votes, how is that fair? How is that right? And do we need to even the playing field and have a more European-style system? Yes, even I am willing to say that the Europeans get some things right. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.